improving the success rate of your Yamadori. This is the tree that I've been working on over the last sort of 4 years, something like that. We managed to get it into a nice pot, which is great. But I'm at the stage now where I really need to start making decisions on branch selection and branch development. And I'm going to go into detail here about how I prune, where I prune and why I prune the branches. So let's get into it. One of the great things about hawthorns, and this is going to be predominantly about hawthorns, is that the more you cut them, the more that they throw out new growth. And really, you can grow branches from pretty much anywhere if you cut hard enough back. They'll even grow right down here in this area here. They'll throw out new shoots. But one of the challenges with hawthorn is the fact that when you do cut them, they do sprout everywhere. So here's a good example of one of the problems that we get. We get these sort of starburst effects. And you've got to really deal with this early on, because if not, you end up getting so many that are growing from one position, and really all you want are two. If we have a look at here up at the top, you can see, having cut back, we've got two. There is one around the back here, which I will probably remove. But again here, look, branch here, that one needs to come out. So let's get into it. Let's take off the obvious ones. This one, for instance, has to go. It's really in a shocking space. But look, we've got a nice bud here, and we've got one on the other side. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. I'm going to take it off completely. So there we can see the two buds. One here and these here. I'm going to leave that one growing down just really to thicken that branch up. So what I do again here, making this selection, this one's got to come off. Again here, look, you can see two buds, 1, 2. That's got to come off. So really, there's going to be a lot removed off this tree. Again, I'm not fully decided on what the final styling is going to be. I do like this position that the tree is in. Again, look at these big. And you've got to stay on top of this. If not, you'll end up just getting a very overcrowded tree. Yes, it'll have lots of ramification, but what it will do is it'll just look confused and not really as neat and tidy as it should be. Here's another one. Look at this. All of these growing from the same position. Let's take that back to these two buds. See, look at everything that's going on in here. This is too crowded. It's way overcrowded. Let's take that one back to there. I'm going to completely remove this one. I think I'm going to need a bigger tool for that. There we go. So I'm going to completely take this off. We don't need that. We don't need this one that's growing down. Okay. So that branch is really how I want it right now. There's actually 3 buds there. I'm going to take that one out. See what I mean about it growing, even from old wood here? Can you see? We've got a bud coming from this position, which is great, because now what we can do is we can create a branch coming from here, which will fill this out quite nicely. So remember what I said? Because here, this got a big cut. This is a long branch originally. So cutting that back has stimulated this bud to develop here. Have a look in here. See what we've got here? We've got a young branch growing right in the middle of this one. So what we've got to do is take him right out. Again, all of these coming from the same position. Now I need to make decisions here. I'm going to keep that long. I'm going to take this one out. Shorten that one. You see, this work that we're doing now really is going to save us a lot of heartache in the future. Here, if you look here, can you see this? This is now crazy. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all coming from the same position. That was from being cut back. Now, let's remember that this tree was planted in this position and only pruning to keep it short took place, but it was all about health of this tree, getting it into such a position that we can really start doing some major work on it. And that's really the start of where we are now. So we know that this whole thing has got to come off, because we have got a bud here, and I'm assuming there's probably one around the back. Yep, here we go. You can see it. There's a bud here, and there's this one here. So that whole thing has got to come off. There we can see it, look. This is very typical of hawthorn, and also blackthorn. You'll find this on. But those are the things that we need to remove. Again, you can see it at the top here. Let's take that. I think this one's dead anyway, so take him out. These that are growing down can all come off. Again, see what I mean here about budding back on the old trunk? There it is. So let's decide what we're doing here with this one. You know what? I'm not too sure about this branch at all. I think what I would like to do with this is probably bring it down around here. So what I'm going to do is, in actual fact, this is good. You can see what I've done here. I don't know if I hope you can see that. This one is okay, but the one at the end is not. So I'm going to take that whole thing off. You see this one here growing in the middle? So you've got a good branch here, and this one that's in the middle. That's got to come out. So let's take him out. Again, you've got a cluster here. So those clusters really, we got 2 nice buds here. So let's take it right back to there. And look at all these little buds which are in here. We don't really want those. You can see what I've tried to do here, in actual fact, is to retain some of the branches here. But there you can see there was 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know this is quite good. Those can come out, but look, you can see there's a knuckle developing here. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that over the next year or two. There, we've got a lot coming together. That's got to come off. Those are the 2 buds that we're going to keep here. I think this is weak. We don't need this. Again. And this time of year, we're in sort of middle of March, and this is a great time, because what I've found is, cutting these back right now will stimulate the growth and new growth. In areas where there are no branches, such as here. This will stimulate this. This is a bit ugly. Let's take it off completely. Here, can you see in here? Can you see this sort of knuckle that's developing here? Because it's at the top of the tree, I really don't want to take this whole thing off. I want to retain this, because this is going to create the top of the tree. So I will at some point need to do some carving out of this area here. I want to keep this. I'm going to take that off. I think actually I really don't like this branch. I think I'm going to develop it from this lot here. So I'm going to take that off completely. And the one that's alongside of it there. Okay. So I'm going to develop it from this and this. So let's have a look. See where we're up to. Now you can see a cluster here at the top. We definitely don't want this one that's growing down. That's okay. You can see a cluster at the top here. I'm going to take that out. To remove this one here. Now we've got two tops, but I think because can you see what I was talking about here, where it's getting it's very crowded. I will have to do some work here at some point. Again, this is in an awkward place. We don't really need these that are on the inside. See what's happening in here. I think that's dead. That can be removed. That can be shortened. So yeah, I can understand sometimes you really want a wild looking tree, and that's fine. But for me, I think I'd rather have a tree that's not really overcrowded. It's nice to see that ramification. It's nice to see the work that people have been doing in developing. Let's take a look towards the bottom of the tree here. Here you can see some crazy clusters that are happening. The whole thing has got to come off. That whole thing, you can see it there. I just put my hand behind you can see it. And that, you know, that was on a long branch. I cut it back short, but it's just grown crazy. So really, we've got to cut that back to retain that one there. This is one that we need to retain. So let's take it off. I mean, hawthorn, they are just such a really forgiving tree. You know, they will bud back on old wood. They will create beautiful deciduous trees. Look at this, though. I mean, crazy. Look at that, crikey. And you know, another one here. I think what I need to do is probably remove that whole thing. And let's see if buds appear from this. But look, see all these things? They've all got to come off. That's the other thing with hawthorns, is you can get very close internodes, so your branches won't have to be long. You see here, if we look here, you can just see a cluster developing there. So we've got to rub those out at this stage. Take those out. This is good. You've got two buds here. We have two buds there. So that'll develop into a nice branch. I'm just going to tidy up. Oh, sorry about that. Around the top. I'll shorten this one. Okay, I think that's probably enough work for now. Where we can see the bits that have been taken off. So let's have a look at a smaller tree, one that I've been developing over the last few years. So I've had this little tree about, I don't know, 5 years, something like that. And it's in a training pot, in a very open soil mixture. It's got fabulous movement in such a small tree, you know, and also great taper. My challenge was obviously grow some branches on it. This was literally taken back to a stump. A very large branch was taken off here. And that was all because oh sorry, there was a little bit of a branch taken off from underneath here. That's why this is growing. But for me, one of the challenges of Yamadori, certainly if you've got a stump, is that transition from the new onto the old, and the thickness that you've got. What I don't like to see is I don't like to see big fat trunks with tiny thin branches. I think they really need to be in overall scale of the tree. So I know I've talked a lot about clusters and really only selecting back down to 2 branches. I might put a little bit of wire on sometimes if I want to change the direction of a branch, but in general I prefer to use cut and grow method on hawthorns. There was wire put onto this one here. As you can see, there's a slight curve in it, and there was wire put onto this one to bring it round. But what I'm going to do today really is, again, stop the development of those clusters, those starbursts, which will take place. And we can see one happening just at the end here. So that's really got to come off. That's got to come off. Some little buds. So what I tend to do is I tend to just rub the buds off. I'm going to take that back. What I want to do, certainly with the hawthorns, is not create a pine look. You know, the branches have got to be going up. It's got to really radiate out from the center. So let's just tidy up this area here. There's not much needs doing on this. What I will do is I'll wait till it begins to grow. Here, there. If we can see this here. This is starting now to create a problem. I don't really want to lose this branch, but what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take off this. And I'm going to have to remove that one because it's coming from the same position. You don't want branches all coming from the same position, like a cartwheel. Generally, no, that's not too bad. But you want to avoid these knuckles if you can. Anything that's growing down. When I talked about wire, what I might do is I might wire this down to this position. But what I'll do is I'll wait a little until the sap is beginning to flow. But this is it's a great little tree. Really pleased it's got an abari. And I know for a fact there's something happening here, but it's under the soil. Bark is good. I'll give you a quick spin all around, you can see it. I live in a very wet climate, so I've got to be careful that this doesn't get damped off. So I do have tend to put my hawthorns in one of the windier positions in the garden so that they do dry out. Anyway, thank you for watching.